we got a call from a friend of mine at Finning last year, and he's the representative for Tech Highland Valley, and um, they wanted to sell him a 990K wheel loader, which is about a 13, 14 yard loader.
Good morning and welcome to episode 46 of The Crownsman Show. Today we are joined by Ed Lingel. He is the president, general manager, and owner of Daequip Premium Attachments. Today Ed will tell us his story in the business world. He will discuss how to work with people, the importance of training and skill, the risk it takes to succeed, and if it's all worth it. But before we get started, we would like to thank all our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Focus West Logistics. Focus West Logistics is your one-stop logistics shop for all your transportation needs, from a single envelope to multi-truckload projects. They are your trusted global logistics partner. Email their freight experts at rates@focuswestlogistics.ca and you will receive your no-obligation spot quote in under 30 minutes. Their team strives to offer you the highest level of service while providing extremely competitive rates to keep your business moving. Trust the team at Focus West Logistics, your one-stop logistics shop. They take the heavy lifting off your plate and put it on their trucks. Find out more at focuswestlogistics.ca. We are also sponsored by PowerZone Equipment. When you need a specialized team of world-class engineers for your oil and gas pipelines, dewatering, or any fluid handling needs, you want to visit PowerZone Equipment. In addition to their inventory of rebuilt pumps, motors, engines, they also have an amazing team to design and engineer your systems, no matter the challenge, no matter the location. You can visit them at powerzone.com. Get in the zone with PowerZone. We're also sponsored by Ashdown Capital. Ashdown Capital works with businesses looking to increase or access working capital, purchase equipment for growth, undertake new development, or to invest in real estate. They help their clients every step of the way. Visit ashdowncapital.ca for more information. Now, let's get on with episode 46, Jared Downey and Ed Lingel.
We are still doing remote, but we're very happy. Everybody seems to be liking them. I actually had someone tell me the other day, they asked when we were going to start doing the remote, so they didn't realize yet. So I'll take that as a compliment to Gowdy for the production value. And today we have Ed Lingel on. Ed, did I just screw up your last name again?
No, that's bang on.
Okay. Ed Lingel from Daequip Premium Attachments. Ed, before we jump into the show, and we got lots to talk about here, can you just give that quick snapshot about what Daequip offers?
So Daequip, we're an attachment company based out of Surrey, and we cover basically excavator, wheel loader, rock truck, crawler dozer attachments, from mini excavators up through a 900 size excavator, and wheel loaders from backhoes up through a 13, 14 yard machine, and rock truck tailgates and bed liners. We kind of service Western Canada, Western United States for a lot of standard attachments, but we kind of specialize in the custom products.
So your industries you're serving is mining, energy, construction, all sort of right across the board. Then just do all the heavy equipment. Then, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, yeah, right from landscaping through mining and everything in between.
So this, like everybody, this with COVID-19 coming through, that must obviously has a pretty serious effect on your business.
Yeah, we started to see a little bit of a slowdown last fall, and even coming into the first quarter of this year with, a slowdown in housing starts and a slowdown in forestry in BC.
Mm-hmm.
Oil and gas, there's still some uncertainty there. So, we were seeing a slowdown, but we were still quite busy, with a nice backlog. And just prior to Con Expo, we were down at the Con Expo show, and we were kind of on par with where we were last year. And it just seems, returning from Con Expo, I think was March 14th or 15th. And really when COVID hit, let's say North America and has transpired into what it is today, we've seen a drastic change in business, a lot of fear. we're still getting orders. We're getting some highly custom orders, and there is some stuff going on, and there's a lot of optimism in the marketplace. And I guess in this industry, it's been my experience over the last 20 years that most of the equipment guys are optimistic anyways, and I think you have to be in this industry. So the
The
upside,
nature of it, yeah.
yeah, the upside of whether it's mining or infrastructure or construction, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's just a matter of being able to get out there and do it at this point. So the optimism is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. As soon as we can get back to business as usual, whatever that looks like, the business level should pick back up and resume to a somewhat normal pace.
Yeah. Do you think, just from an operational perspective, will your company, you're probably a lot of face to face in your business and that, but will there be some shifts in the way you operate, using some of this new technology of communication and that? Will there be any shift for Daequip, or will it be back to normal once things get going?
We're constantly trying to catch up with emerging technologies, and yeah, I think there's going to be a shift. We've already seen it even over the last few years. I'll say in the last 5 or 6 years, as technology comes out with not only technology, but as the younger generation merges into the industry, and they in fact are changing the way the business is being done. Or I've been doing this for 20 years, and I can remember, everything was face to face, handshake meetings, and you'd sit down with a customer, you'd go over things, and you'd strike a deal, and you'd go back to your office and put it all in and get it going. And I can still remember the first time I got a request for a quote on a text, and I didn't even know what a text was yet.
Yeah.
I got this little beeper on my phone, and I was trying to figure it out. And then I'm looking at the phone number, and I'm like, okay, I know that guy. So I phone him. I go, hey, what's this? He goes, oh, I need a price on a loader. We did that whole deal via text, and I go, I thought at that moment, like, times are changing. And I guess it goes back to, you can go back 40 years when the fax machine first came out. And, so then as texting come by, and now you're getting the social media aspect of the business, LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, those have been, key business drivers for us, and, to be a part of. And I'm learning that as I go. I'm part of the older generation. So I'm learning as I go, but we're trying to embrace everything we can, and I think it's good. I like it.
Yeah, it is a shift. Like I think you and I connected through LinkedIn originally, and most of our sponsors and guests and that, a lot of them now are coming through LinkedIn. And it's funny because it's shifting so much now. In some cases now, to pick up the phone and, let's say, call someone, it's almost more of an interruption. So you actually will connect with them through something like LinkedIn, so they can kind of answer at their own convenience. You can see that they've read it, so okay, they've seen it. So if they don't respond, they're not interested. It actually, it's a shift, so that the old way of doing it almost becomes a disruption to people in some cases now.
What we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years is there's no shut off anymore. You got your cell phone, your smartphone, your laptop, your iPad at home. It's become almost expected that if somebody sends you a text or an email at 6 o'clock at night, that you answer them right away, whether you're at home having dinner or you're out for dinner or you're doing personal time. And the need or the want to have a response here and now is real, and so it has changed drastically that way. Like, there really is no downtime for guys. But you're bang on. I'm very cognizant of our customers' time, and before I just pick up the phone and phone them, I'll usually shoot them a text and say, hey, do you got time? When's a good time?
Yeah.
Or an email, so that you aren't interrupting them. That they might be in a meeting, or they're working on something that's important to them, and it gives them the opportunity to respond when the best time is. And a lot of times it's, give me a call right now, or you just go back and forth on text, or it's like, hey, let's schedule a call for tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and I think we'll see even more of this. I wanted to jump in to, you've when I was booking you as a guest, looking through your LinkedIn, and what stood out for me is that you're the owner of Daequip, but you were working with Finning for quite a few years. And I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of how that set you up to transition into a company like Daequip, which is obviously a completely separate thing. And I wanted to go through first because I noticed with Finning, there was just a huge amount of training and courses that you have on your LinkedIn, that you just you wouldn't even be able to provide as a smaller company. And I'm curious how much that actually set you up to be not only successful in the business in the good times, but even through challenging times like this, those courses. And I mean, I'm seeing, there's professional training courses in sales, and there's I'm see query and egg maps course. There's all kinds of things that I've never even seen before on this that you've taken. How much did that sort of set you up for success in both good times and bad?
Well, it's been invaluable to say the least. I'll take just a step further back. So I started in this industry working for a company called CWS, which is another bucket manufacturer. And I had some opportunity. I was a Western United States sales rep, so I covered 7 or 8 states in the U.S. and was traveling 30 to 40 weeks out of the year. And as my young kids were growing up, I was missing a lot of their time. And in '03, the company sold, and they wanted me to travel. The new owners wanted me to travel some more, and I wanted to kind of stay at home more. So the opportunity came up to go to work in the sales world as an equipment sales rep. And it was a fairly easy transition to go from attachment salesman to a machine salesman, because I was dealing with all the sales guys for the better part of 3.5 years. And I was with them, visiting their customers, being engaged, and learning about the machines, the applications, and more so the importance of what an attachment does on the end of a machine, whether it be a wheel loader or an excavator. And not to take away from the machine itself, but the attachment is really the part of the operation that takes the most abuse. It's the one going into the dirt all day, every day. You have an excavator bucket, and that's primarily what moves the dirt. The machine makes it happen, but it's going into the dirt. It's breaking rock. It's loading the trucks. So it sees the most abuse. It needs lots of maintenance along with everything else. Moving to Finning was just a huge opportunity, and the training that they put into us. And I was a successful salesman there, but from 2004 to 2015, like you highlighted the training that they gave us. Finning invested lots of money and does invest a lot of money in all their employees. So the training part was instrumental in giving me an outlook as to what's new in technology, how to not only sell equipment, but how to help customers out in specifying the proper attachments, the proper machines. If it's a quarry and ag, like are they doing load and carry? Do they need trucks and excavators? Is a loader and a truck better? Just types like that. That's what your maps course is. And the other part of the training, they really highlighted to internal what's the word I'm looking for? Promotion, right? So they wanted to promote people internally. So the training was constant for that, so that you always kind of had a future there. And I didn't leave Finning because I was disgruntled. I left Finning because this opportunity came up. And so as it was, over the years, I was a supplier or a supporter of the Daequip product. They were a small company. The previous owner was a one-man show, half a dozen employees, up to a dozen at sometimes. But he treated me well, and his products were good. So, I sold a lot of his products. And early on, it was around '07, he had approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in buying the company and or partnering with him, because he wanted to expand. And we kind of held hands for a few months, and the timing wasn't right. I still had young kids. I wasn't about to take the risk to jump out, to buy into a company that I didn't really know. And I had a really good job at Finning, and they treated me well, and I was home every night, and I enjoyed working for them. So, we fast forwarded another 5 or 6 years, and in 2012, I was looking for more challenge, and always had that desire to be an entrepreneur and own my own business. So I approached him, and I had a partner lined up at that time, and we were trying to put a deal together. And Daequip was really busy at that time, as were we. And we were making decent money, and Daequip was making decent money. So we kind
Mm.
of talked a little bit, but just it never went anywhere. And then again, in 3 years, in 2015, the owner actually came down with some illness, which forced the sale of the company. But he called me first and just said, "Hey, you've been interested. We've talked. If you're serious about it, it's got to happen now, and here's the reasons why." And it was a Friday afternoon, about 5:30, and I talked to him for about 10 minutes, and he said, "I'll give you the weekend to think about it." And I gave him an answer immediately. I said, "I don't need the weekend." I said, "I'll be there on Monday. Let's make a deal." So here I am.
Wow. That, it's interesting that it took, and as we do more and more of these episodes, these stories are always a little bit different. But in your case, I mean, so you started thinking about buying it, and what was the original date? 2009?
7.
7. And then it ends up actually happening in 2015.
Yeah.
So that all that time to get there, when you stepped into it, how much different from what you sort of envisioned it being? Actually, I have two questions. One is how much different was it one that you actually thought it would be? But secondly, do you still consciously think about that training that you've got, or does it come as second nature? Or when you're going through something, do you consciously go, "Oh, I remember I learned how to deal with this through a course or through my experience with finning"?
So to answer the first question, when I first took over, I was scared as hell. Pardon my language. I went from I went from getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, having my house paid for, and a pretty good life living in Kamloops on the river and enjoying life. I wouldn't say stress free, but I didn't really have the stresses of being a business owner. And
Mm.
I've got a very supportive wife, and she had a good job at UBC working at the hospital, so we were pretty set up, and we probably could have retired in Kamloops comfortably and lived our lives happily ever after. Instead, we chose to, or I chose, and she happily followed me, thank goodness, um, to put our life on hold and risk everything that we had worked for up until the time we were 45 to buy a business and take a chance. And don't ask me where that comes from. I talk to many business owners, and the want or the need to take the risk and go out on your own it just seems to be a natural one that you can't overcome. Some guys want it,
Yeah.
some guys don't. And I can tell you, I thought about it pretty much every day of my working career, and I was always scared.
Wow.
And I can tell you, I was still scared the day I took over. And the day I took over was it really set in, because I was standing in the shop with 7 guys or 6 guys and myself, and we didn't have any orders, we didn't have any work, and I had some large payments and obligations to the bank. So
Yeah.
and that's when my training kicked in, and
Right.
it's second nature, Jared. There's things that I've done and come up with over the last 4.5 or 5 years of being here, that I kind of reflect back after I've made the decision or after we've done it, and I'm like, geez, where did that come from? And it came from the training that I received, and more importantly, not just the training at Finning, but my interactions with my customer base,
Hmm.
working for Finning, and especially as a major account manager, I dealt with some very large customers, and I was dealing with VPs and presidents of mining companies and large infrastructure companies. And when you build those relationships and you're sitting down having a coffee with the guy, most business owners want to share their success stories. Not only do they want to share their
Right.
success stories, but they want to help you be successful. So they'll tell you how they got there. They're proud of it. They're proud to tell you of the times that they fought to get a deal, or they had to call their banker because they couldn't make a payment, or they needed some terms because things were tough, and they'll tell you about their successes. And because they're proud of it, right? And there's just as much learning in that interaction as there is in going to a sales management training course, or
Mm.
so it comes from all sides. But the life experience of working for a large dealership and dealing with large customers has been as important as all the training I received through Caterpillar and Finning.
I'm curious, when you come into you mentioned that the previous owner, he was sort of a one-man show with people sort of filling in the demand, the things he just couldn't do, but he was doing designing and the billing and the sales and pretty much everything. So when you came in, like you already mentioned, you had obligations to the banks, you've got, you still got a family, and you've got you've got employees and everything. What did you do over the next few years to sort of, kick more life into the company?
Well, it's been a ride. I'll say that for sure. So we bought the business, and in order to buy the business, a lot of bank obligations and whatnot. And moving from Kamloops to here,
Mm-hmm.
the housing price fluctuation was huge, as you are well aware. And
Mm-hmm.
we also had a house in Kamloops that was a little unique on the river, and it wasn't an easy sell. So it actually took us about 3 years to sell the house.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we didn't have any money to move into a new house here or an apartment. We couldn't afford anything because we were maxed out on our loans as far as buying the business. So my wife and we actually moved into the shop when we first bought the shop. So
Wow.
we converted a couple offices upstairs into a makeshift bedroom and a makeshift living room, and our kitchen was a hot plate and a toaster oven for 22 months.
So you
Um,
weren't exaggerating when you said she's supportive.
not at all. I wouldn't be here without her. So, but what we found is, I don't know. It came as natural. You just do what you have to do to make it happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so with me being a sales and marketing background, and just kind of I don't have a university degree. I don't have a business degree. Just kind of call it the street smarts and what I've learned in the industry. So um, my first task was to come up with a designer so that we could design new attachments, because part of my business plan was to expand the product line. The previous owner was available on a very limited access base because of his illness, and he unfortunately he was deteriorating fast, and we had talked early on that he'd be available, for 6 or 8 months to help us out, and it just couldn't happen, and so it was kind of feast or famine. We were forced
Oh,
into learning as fast as we could. So my wife got a job locally here with another company, and she worked full time there, and then she would come home to the office, and she would work 5 or 6 hours, not get paid for it, and she started to learn how to do the accounting and the billing, and I was doing it, and we just made it work. And so we started off hiring a designer, and then as we moved on, I promoted one of the guys in the shop who's been here, Mike Nick Roberts. He's been here 14, 15 years now, but he's started here when he was 19 or 20 years old, and he he
well,
he knew the business from the backside, and knew all the customers. So it was just a natural progression for me to bring him in and help me build this company. And he's been instrumental in helping us, and dealing with customers. And he's grown a lot too. I've been able to coach him with a lot of my learnings through the dealership, and we've grown our team since then. And so we have an operations manager, a VP. We purchased a machine shop, and we got a machine shop manager, and we just keep growing and hope that it's going to be. Hope the business is going to be there to support it.
did you take on a partner uh, from the very beginning or later on?
Later on, so we bought the business on our own, and it was after about 5 or 6 months that I realized that I can't do everything. I need people in place, and
Right.
there's one thing I learned, at the dealership level is if you empower people around you, to make decisions, you hire the right people. That's that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest part of success is having people around you that are wanting to help you succeed, and you help them succeed. So um, Al Genesius, who was a long-time supplier of mine. He worked at another attachment company. So when I was at Finning, I was buying all my excavator products through Daequip, and I would buy all my wheel loader products through Al and the previous company he was with. And I reached out to him one day. It was probably January or February of 2016, and we were kind of joking aside. He was happy for me that I bought Daequip, but upset at the same time because it impacted his business. And so I met him for a coffee and pitched him an offer if he wanted to buy into the company and come over and be the shop operations manager and basically run the back half of the business. And he was elated. He was thrilled. So it was almost on the same aspect as me. I said, I'll give you a couple of days or a week to think about it. He says, I don't need to think about it. He says, I want to do it. And he goes, I just need a little bit of time to, come up with a plan for the buy-in. So, Al came over and, he brought with him not only customers, but, 30, 35 years of experience in the attachment business. He started his career off at Finning as a fabricator, and then he ran the shop, and then, he knew a little bit of everything, and he specialized in big wheel loader products and repair work. It was just, a wealth of knowledge. Unfortunately, Al, just like what we're going through right now, Al got sick Christmas of 2017, and within 2 weeks he had passed away.
In 2 weeks.
Very, very similar to what we were going through now. So he unfortunately came down with a tickle in his throat, and it turned into pneumonia, and he passed away at January 2018. And it was a real, it was a kick in the pants, not just from a personal aspect or a business aspect, but, he was a 57-year-old healthy man. It was, never thought it could happen. You hear the stories of it, and it sent a big shock through the attachment community. And he had a lot of, he was 35, 40 years in the business, had a lot of old-time friends, and we were all shocked. But, it left a big hole in Daequip. And so what ended up happening is I had a sales guy at the time who had a shop operations background. So I pulled him back off the road, put him in the shop, and you do what you have to do to survive. So we struggled. 2018 was a year that we struggled, with just trying to get things back on track and have somebody running the shop and, getting things out. The orders were, we were busy. We were getting lots of business. And we stumbled. We had some growing pains, and we're working through those growing pains now. But it's almost like some things are meant to be because. And when I say that, we fast forward 12 months later, and my new partner, Steve Tudhope, he became available, and he's another 20-year guy, 30-year guy with attachment background experience, and we hooked up after him and his other company parted ways, and we put together a business plan, and it took us about a year to come to an agreement, but we came to that agreement, and he came over, and he's my new partner now, and he brings with him 30 years of attachment manufacturing experience and stuff. So it's been a ride and a journey. So I think he's 6-7 months in as a full partner now, and we're just. It's good to have him on board because as we grow, I know what my limitations are, and I know, what I need for help, and he's brought that on board. So taken a lot of stress off my shoulders and brought a lot of value to the backside of the business.
When you're talking about this, there's a bit of a common theme, from your wife and you moving upstairs in the shop. I believe you still work with Finning as a customer along with all your other customers. You've had a couple partners, that gentleman that originally owned the business, you were his first call as an opportunity. So, I mean, without you saying it, there's an obvious you have the ability to work with people and create partnerships and doing that. Is that something, we talked a little bit about the training, but is that something that you came naturally and then all this experience that you've had has added to, or is that something you've always had, that ability to work with people and get people on side?
I think that's a natural ability I've always had, uh, and then it's brought to light through the training and through the relationship
Mm,
building, and just it's life experience. It's funny because as when I went into sales on the equipment side, and a lot of my friends growing up in both elementary school and high school, they always kind of laugh, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we were surprised it took this long for you to become into a sales role of such thing." Because I guess I go back here. I was kind of a joker, but a socialite all through school.
mm.
I didn't just hang out with one group of people. I hung out with everybody. Whether it was the jocks or the headbangers. I grew up in the '80s, so not to label people or anything, but you had your social groups. You had the guys that were
Yeah, of course.
the football players, and then the hockey players. The jocks, and you had your headbangers, which were the partiers and the long hair guys, and you had your skater group,
And the good music.
and yeah, exactly. And then you had the skaters who had the good music, but they just all the different socialites, and I had friends and hung out with all of them. I didn't have just a group of friends that I just stuck with all the time. And then
Hmm.
even growing up, after the fact, my wife and I, we actually met in high school and got married shortly after high school. But she's very much the same way. So we've always been very easy to get along with, and we're just happy-go-lucky people. We're optimistic. We're glass half full. And I think most business owners you find, and most people in the sales industry, especially in the equipment side, it's some people take it as a insult when you say, "Oh, you're just another salesman." And in our industry, we're not just another salesman. It's a relationship-based industry. You're not just looking for that one-time sale. The guy's coming on the lot and buying a car and then leaving. You're actually
Yeah, for
you're
sure.
building you're building a relationship. You're solution-based selling. You're helping your customer build his business at the same time. And I used to have a saying that I use it all the time, and I still use it. It's I worked for my customer, but I got paid for by the company I was working for. And what I would say
Hmm.
that for is, if you don't build the trust and build a relationship with the customer, they're not going to call you back. And you're a commission based salesman, so you're not going to get your paycheck if he's not buying something from you. And if you're not treating him
Right.
well and offering him solutions, he's going to look elsewhere. And then on the flip side, you're working for a company that you have to represent to the best of your ability, and that company has to make money. Profit's not a dirty word. It's a lot of
No.
a lot of people think it is, and a lot of people get upset about it. But you know, every business in the world is set to make profit. Now, there's good profit, and then there's exorbitant profit, and gouging, but you don't see any of that here. It's a competitive business. We do whatever we can to make a buck, and make sure that your customers are taken care of. And um, I had a boss slash mentor, and his theory and theme was always just, Eddie, do what's right, and everything will be good. And if you're doing what's right for
Mhm.
the company and the customer, there's always a story, and sometimes it costs the customer a little bit of money. Sometimes it costs the company a little bit of money, but if you do what's right, it always comes back to help you out.
It is. It's very true, and and I want to get into a little bit of the customers that you've served. Um, I mean, I'm sure you've had. Are there any projects for you that the company Daequip has taken on since you've, of course, had ownership of it? There was sort of an extra level of challenge. It's a bigger customer. You're working with multiple partners to get it done. Are there any projects for you that sort of stand out in that?
Yeah, there is, and we've done a lot of new projects for Daequip just because of the expansion of our business model. Like I said, um, Daequip was primarily an excavator attachment company, and we
Hmm.
expanded it to be a full line business. But actually, just last year we had a project come on board, and it was one where we wanted to get in more into the mining side of the business. We were doing some I'll call light mining, more on the aggregate quarry side with excavator,
Hmm.
severe duty buckets and stuff. But we got a call from a friend of mine at Finning last year, and he's the representative for Tech Highland Valley, and um, they wanted to sell him a 990K wheel loader, which is about a 13, 14 yard loader. And it's a big for our small shop. It was a big project, but there was some real tight timelines and a specialty bucket that they wanted designed, and that Cat didn't offer. And the only way that they could deliver this loader on time under tech's specifications, they whether it was a year end or they had to have it for a specific project on site and working in a 10-week window, and that was basically designing the bucket, getting the engineering information, to make sure the bucket would hook onto the machine, the geometry, and building the product. And this came at a busy time when most manufacturers were 8 to 10 weeks delivery on standard attachments. So
Hmm.
um, we took the challenge on, and we worked back and forth with the sales rep, his product support rep, and the Highland Valley guys, and we came up with a design that they liked, and back and forth with drawings, we put the GET on it that they wanted, and we delivered it in a short window, and it went to work, and it's been working now for better part of 7 or 8 months. And I think the last I talked to the client here just a couple of weeks ago, there's almost 4,000 hours on the bucket and the machine, and
Oh.
they're running it 24/7, right? So and it's been perfect. The wear is good. They're super happy, and they're talking about another one now. And that it's one of those things where we had to bring in some outside help on the engineering side, just to help our engineers,
Hmm.
just because we were already busy at the time. But it was a market we wanted to get into, so we made the jump and the investment, and it paid off.
Doing those projects, you probably, it's hard to even calculate the value down the road, like when you get into tough times like this, and then you're the company that actually delivered and we're able to put it into play. That must pay huge dividends as referral work and people trusting you in the next project and things like that. Is it pretty much in your business? Is there a lot of repeat, or is it a bid process pretty much every time, or how does that generally work?
It's a combination. So obviously, I'll go back to the relationships. Everything's about relationships. So you're constantly working with
Hmm.
um, the customers that are buying their product, and you're trying to get end users to specify your product and work with you on that. But as any business in this industry, you've got 8 or 10 different players selling the equipment. You got 6 or 7 different players in the attachment game. So sometimes it comes down to the customer saying, "I want your product and I'm going to wait for it." Other times it comes down to who can build it the fastest, or other times it comes down to what's the price. So it's a
Hmm.
continually changing process. We have a good customer base that no matter what, they're going to buy our product and they're going to wait for it. We try to work with them. Sometimes I have loaner attachments. Sometimes they'll buy a machine and use their existing attachments until we can get some new stuff made for them. We try to stock some stuff, but with this business, there's so many different configurations, and there's different lugging, different hookup information. So uh, you can almost guarantee if you have it in stock for the deal that you want to try to get in a short timeline, it's not right. And
Right.
sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they won't. But it's a continually changing process.
I want to, as we wrap up the interview, I want to give sort of a little bit broader of everything we kind of touched on it in and out on the whole interview, but I kind of want to give that section that people can kind of see what you offer in full. So can we kind of go through, I know you do the excavators, the wheel loaders, but you also do the trucks. Can you just give us that snapshot of, just the different equipment that you're working on, as well as some of the services that you're providing, repairing wear on buckets and things like that?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything, and on the excavator side, we primarily deal in buckets and thumbs and couplers, rakes, rippers. And then you get into the more specialized attachments, tilting attachments. So we build like a tilt blade, commonly referred to as a chuck blade, tilt buckets, and then skeleton buckets. Uh, and then you get into your more custom stuff where you're doing pipe grapples, certified lifting devices, and jib booms. We've actually built quite a few specialty jib booms for the U.S. market. And then you get into your grapples and that type of stuff. On the wheel loaders, the wheel loaders, like an excavator, but they truly are a Swiss Army knife if you want them to be. And that's where we've seen the biggest growth in our business. And that was where in my original business plan, where my growth opportunities lied, were in the wheel loader side. And we've gone from zero wheel loader business from the day I took over to it's probably 30 to 40% of our business now. And
well, just in the first 5 years, then.
Yeah, it's been big, and I've got some good designers, and we've been able to build a good product that customers really like. And again, even like that specialty project, as people see what you're building, it creates more opportunity, and that's where the social media part comes in, and the word of mouth. And I only just learned of Instagram a couple of years ago, but I had a customer where we'd sold him some specialty stuff on an excavator, and he posted it online and actually on Instagram. And within a couple of days of him posting that on Instagram, I had 2 requests from customers that were new, but they were on Instagram and seen it and said, "Hey, I want what he's got."
Yeah.
So we
it's wild.
the wheel loader product has been very much like that, and so we don't build anything for skid steers. Well, I shouldn't say we don't build anything. We do some small custom products for skid steers. We're actually doing a rollout bucket for one right now. But from a loader backhoe size up to this 990, like I say, a 13, 14-yard bucket, we've really engaged in the forestry side for wheel loader grapples, wood chip buckets, pelican grapples, some peeler forks, and that's been really good. And the products are getting out there. The dealers are supporting us, and they're buying it for their inventory and putting it on their machines. And then the rock buckets on wheel loaders, pretty much whatever the dealers, when a dealer brings in a loader, for the most part, it's a standard GP bucket or just a standard rock bucket. So when a customer has a specific, then they ask for a higher capacity or more ground engaging tools or a different design that suits their loading purposes. That's really where we come into. And then on the infrastructure side, and
on
the infrastructure side, the maintenance side, back to my original relationships and being a part of a dealership, I've had my customers come and they've supported us by buying, snow removal products and loader forks and that type of stuff. So it's really been a well-rounded side of the business.
How much of the do you do in percentage wise when you do like rebuilds or maintenance on attachments and that sector of the work? How much of that is part of your business? Would it make, just as a rough estimate, would it make up 5%, 20%?
It's dependent on the time. Like Daequip didn't do a lot of rebuilds back in the day, and it's something that we brought on when Al came aboard because it was an opportunity, especially on big wheel loader products and big excavator products.
Yeah.
So we started it about 3 years ago, and it's been good. I would say right now it might be 10% of our business. And a lot of times with the repair work, it's a nice fill-in job. Just in between waiting for materials or having a guy. Yeah. We couldn't dedicate a shop to it, but it works out well. And I call it more of a fill-in business because it's not our forte. There's a lot more work involved in attachment and repair and rebuild because you got to cut apart something and then put it back together. And you don't have the material on hand right away to do it. You have to roll something, and a lot of times used attachments. You're not working with straight square products. It's kind of like doing a renovation on a house. You open up the walls and you always find something that you weren't expecting. So it's good business, and you got to have the right guys doing it. But yeah, I would guess it would be about 10% of our business. and we like doing it. And I see, even like when I was in the equipment business, it correlates to the good times and the bad times. In the good times, people buy new, and in the bad times, people watch their pennies, and
Yeah.
they start to repair things and look at, how can I make this last longer. Um, and part of what I learned, in my background, in my training, is the rebuild side of things. We offer full rebuilds on attachments, and if you can rebuild a bucket for 60 or 70% of the cost of new, you're still saving 30%, and
Yeah.
you're basically getting a new attachment when it comes back out, with the exception of your pin on, and guys are starting to buy into it more and more.
Right. Yeah. Well, as we wrap up this interview, Ed, I guess my last question would be, you've really nicely laid out sort of that story of what the company was and where it's come to, and the different steps you've taken, and new partners, and everything that you've gone through with it. Well, not everything. You can't cover everything in an hour, but have you ever at any point, did you ever think, oh, I shouldn't have done this? Or from the moment you made that commitment, has it been a good decision in your mind?
Oh, that's a funny question, because you probably every day you go, "Oh wow, what did I get myself into?"
Yeah.
And it's funny because that's probably the most common question I get from guys,
Mm-hmm.
from everybody, from other business owners, sales guys I deal with, and yeah, what I tell you, there's lots of times where I think, man, what did I get myself into? You got massive loans, and stress of dealing with people and customers, and collecting money, and paying invoices, and would I reconsider it? Not a chance.
Mm.
I wish I would have done it sooner. To tell you the truth, I wish I would have taken the opportunity in '07, '08. But having said that, would I be where I'm at because of the amount of things I learned in my previous role? It really did help set me up for where I'm at, and
Yeah.
in more ways than I ever knew that it did. Like I said, there's times where I'll say something, or I'll come up with a decision, or dealing with a customer, and I'm like, you know, yeah, I wouldn't have known that had I not been
Mm.
on the dealer side. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a catch-22, and I often tell people, be careful what you wish for, because
Mm-hmm.
I wish for this, and I'm super happy with it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I said, I wish I would have done it years ago, and I always tell people, if you have a dream, follow it, because the risks are worth the rewards in the long run, and even just for self-satisfaction, it's been a fun time.
Yeah, and it's at the very beginning you said about you've talked to a lot of other owners who they just couldn't do it any other way. I mean, and you're an owner, I run a company, and I don't know. I feel like if I got the best job in the world, I'd probably last about 3 years, which my last job, I lasted about 3 years. And then I get the itch. It's if it's in you, I don't know. I guess some people probably don't take it. There's probably some people that don't take the opportunities or the risk. But it's sure, yeah, for the gain, I think, is still above the stress. Even, I mean, people fail at it, but I always think it's worth at least trying at some point in your life, if you really have that desire to do it.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. And when I hung up the phone with Dean when he called, and my wife said, "Well, who was that?" And I said, "That was Dean." And I said, "We just bought a bucket company." And she looked at me and she said, "What?" And automatically you start thinking, like, holy cows, what's the risk? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
The excitement, the fear. But one of the biggest things that I reflected back on is and it goes back to when I left Summerland, in a small little town, and moved to the Lower Mainland to go to work for CWS. And, the biggest fear I had was, in 10 years, the what if I didn't
Mm.
take this job, or what if I don't, where would I be? What would I be doing if I don't take this opportunity? And
Yeah.
that outweighed the fear of taking the jump. And there's people that can do it, and there's people that can't. And we all have a path in life, and like I say, sometimes you fail, and if something ever happens here and we fail, I'm sure I'll try again.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and to add to it, I don't think if you're ever trying to start a business, to anybody listening, and because I actually think it's quite motivational, some of the stuff that you've talked about and the way you've brought, way you've got to this point is interesting. But if you're looking to get out of work by starting a business, watch this episode.
Yeah, yeah. There's no such thing as a 40-hour work week.
No, well, Ed, I really do appreciate you coming on the show. I'm glad, I follow you on LinkedIn, and I see that you've got some projects moving right now during obviously a very challenging time for all of us. So that's good to see, and I certainly wish you the best in the business, and hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you, Jared, and thank you, Gaddy, and stay safe.
Yeah, you too, Ed. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick sign off on here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate the support from our sponsors, from our audience. It's we are our business, Ed's business. Everybody is going through a challenging time, so your support is very, very much appreciated right now. We'll keep bringing you new content, keep you connected to all the industries we highlight. Thanks again for watching, and Gowdy will wrap up the show for you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you are a dedicated fan and would like to help support the production of The Crownsman Show, please head on over to crownsman.com/donations. We have set up two initial donation options, the $5 monthly subscription option and the support heavy industry one-time donation. These are all through PayPal. So please, again, that is crownsman.com/donations. Thank you so much for your support, and we will see you on the next episode.